Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Her Smile. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video.
My mom threw a stack of overdue bills at me and said 6 words that changed everything. If you're so smart, pay your own bills. I was 22, still wearing my work uniform, grease stains on my shirt from a double shift, feet aching, hadn't eaten since breakfast. She didn't ask how my day was, didn't ask if I was okay, just stood there with fire in her eyes like I was the reason her entire life had fallen apart. The bills weren't even hers. They were mine, my name, my credit, my future she'd been spending like it was loose change in her purse. I didn't argue that night, didn't cry, didn't defend myself. I packed a bag and walked out. 1 month later, she called me screaming, "Why is the power off? What did you do?" My response left her speechless, and it was only the beginning of what I'd planned since the night she told me to pay my own bills. My name is Sarah. I'm 22 years old, and this is the story of how I made my mother pay for everything she took from me, financially, emotionally, completely. But before I tell you what I said on that phone call, what I found hidden in her apartment, and how it all ended on eviction day, hit that subscribe button, because this story goes places nobody sees coming. And drop a comment right now telling me what time it is where you are. I want to know how far this story travels. Because what happened to me, it's happening to someone else right now, and they need to know they're not alone. Now, let me introduce you to the woman who raised me, and the moment I realized she'd been stealing more than just my money. My mom's name is Cynthia, and she used to be different, warm, funny, the kind of mom who'd make pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse on Saturday mornings and braid my hair into French braids before school, even though it took 20 minutes and made us both late. She'd sing off-key to the radio while making dinner. She'd leave notes in my lunchbox that said, "You're amazing," in loopy handwriting. She'd sit through every school play and every awkward recital and clap like I'd just performed on Broadway. Then my dad left. Just. Walked out one day when I was 12. Came home from school to find half the closet empty and a note on the kitchen table that said, "I'm sorry," but never explained what he was sorry for. He didn't take me with him, didn't fight for custody, didn't even call to say goodbye. Just gone. All he left behind was an old photo from a vacation I barely remembered, a pile of unpaid bills, and a woman who slowly, methodically, turned her grief into a weapon she'd use on me for the next 10 years. After Dad left, Mom changed. Not overnight, gradually, like watching someone fade in reverse. The warmth leaked out of her smile. The songs stopped. The pancakes became cereal. The braids became ponytails I did myself. Every unpaid bill became a crisis. Every broken appliance became a catastrophe. Every failed job interview became someone else's fault, usually mine. If you'd just been better, she'd say, staring at rejection letters from jobs she'd barely tried to get. If you'd been what he wanted, maybe he would have stayed. I was 12, and somehow my father abandoning us was my fault for not being enough to make him stay. When I got my first part-time job at 16, I was so proud. Hostess at a local diner. Minimum wage plus tips. Nothing glamorous. But it was mine. I thought I'd help out, buy my own school supplies, save for college, maybe take some pressure off Mom. I showed her my first paycheck with this stupid, hopeful smile on my face. She looked at it, looked at me, and said, "Well, guess you're paying for groceries this month then." That weekend, she took my debit card for safekeeping. "We're a team," she'd say with this smile that didn't reach her eyes, while using my paycheck to cover rent, and cigarettes she'd smoke on the back porch, and cheap wine she'd drink while watching daytime TV and complaining about how hard her life was. I worked 20 hours a week on top of school. Every penny went into that account, and every penny disappeared. "Where's the money going?" I'd ask. "Bills," she'd snap. "Stuff you don't understand because you're just a kid." But I wasn't just a kid anymore. I was a kid with a job, doing homework between shifts, missing school events because I had to cover someone's shift, wearing the same 3 outfits because there was never money left for new clothes. For me, anyway. Somehow Mom always had cigarettes, always had wine, always had new throw pillows for the couch or candles or whatever impulse purchase caught her eye at Target. I deserve something nice, she'd say when I'd stare at the shopping bags, after everything I've been through. By the time I started college, "We're a team" had evolved into "You owe me." I'd gotten a scholarship, not a full ride, but enough to cover tuition at the local community college. I was so proud. Thought I'd finally caught a break. Mom saw it differently. "So you'll have extra money then," she said. Not a question, a statement. Extra? Mom, the scholarship just covers tuition. I still need books and you have a job, she interrupted. And I have bills. So unless you want to be homeless, you'll help out. Help out became pay for everything. She stopped looking for steady work, started relying on my scholarships, my student loans I took out to cover living expenses, my side hustles delivering food and tutoring kids after my classes ended. I was working 40 hours a week, taking a full course load, and handing over most of what I made. If I ever complained, she'd snap, "Do you want us on the street? Your father didn't care about us. At least I stayed." That phrase, "at least I stayed," she used it like a shield, like staying was enough. Like not abandoning me meant she got unlimited access to my bank account and my future. So I stayed too. I worked late, studied later, handed over whatever money I made, covered whatever bill she'd forgotten, fixed whatever crisis she'd created, and every single time I tried to set a boundary, she'd twist it. "I need to save money for next semester's books." "Oh, so your education is more important than having electricity?" "I can't cover your car payment this month. I have my own insurance due." Wow, nice to know my own daughter would rather see me stranded than help out. "Mom, I've been paying for groceries every week. Can you maybe—" "You think you're better than me because you went to college? Think you're too good to help your own mother?" Somehow my achievements were insults. My success was proof I'd abandoned her. My attempts to build a future were evidence I didn't care about our present. For 6 years I lived in that apartment, working, studying, paying, apologizing for things I didn't do, taking responsibility for problems I didn't create, watching my mother shrink into bitterness, while I stretched myself so thin I barely recognized who I was anymore. Until that night. The night she threw bills at me and told me to pay my own. It wasn't about the electricity, or the rent, or the internet. It was about 6 years of being treated like an ATM with feelings she refused to acknowledge. It was about every time I'd said, "I can't afford that," and she'd responded, "Figure it out." It was about coming home from double shifts to find her on the couch watching TV while I had 3 hours of homework waiting and another shift in the morning. It was about being 12 years old and told my father left because I wasn't enough, and being 22 and still trying to be enough for a woman who'd decided long ago that nothing I did would ever be. Something in me snapped that night. Not loud, not dramatic, just snapped. Like a rubber band stretched too far for too long. It broke. Quietly. Completely. I walked to my room, grabbed my backpack, the one I'd used since high school because there was never money for a new one. Stuffed in clothes, my laptop, textbooks, the one framed photo of me and Dad from when I was 7, and he still smiled at me like I was worth staying for. My hands were shaking, but my mind had never been clearer. She followed me down the hallway. "Where do you think you're going?" I didn't answer, just kept packing. "Sarah, I'm talking to you." I zipped the backpack, threw it over my shoulder, turned to face her. "You told me to pay my own bills," I said, quietly, calmly. "So I'm going to live my own life." Her face went through about 5 different expressions: shock, anger, disbelief, back to anger. "You can't just leave." "Watch me." "You'll be back," she called after me as I walked toward the door. "You'll be back when you realize how hard it is out there, how much you need me." I stopped, hand on the doorknob, turned back one more time. "I've been living how hard it is for 6 years," I said, "while supporting both of us. I think I'll manage." I walked out that night, down the apartment stairs, into the parking lot, into my car that barely ran, but at least had gas because I'd filled it that morning. I sat there for a long minute, hands gripping the steering wheel, waiting to feel guilty, waiting to feel like I'd made a mistake. The guilt never came. What came instead was relief, pure, overwhelming, terrifying relief. I put the car in drive and didn't look back. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button. Let me know you're here. Because what happens next is where things get really complicated. I crashed on my friend Lily's couch that first night. She'd been watching this mess from the outside for years. We sat in her dark living room, streetlight glow coming through the blinds, replaying the argument in my head over and over. "You finally left," Lily whispered. "You should have done it years ago." "I know," I said, staring at my phone, expecting a flood of texts, apologies maybe, or more anger, something. Nothing came. "But she still has my name on everything," I continued. "The lease, the utilities, the internet. If she stops paying, they'll come after me." Lily frowned. "Can't you just remove your name?" That innocent question triggered something. I'd spent years cleaning up her messes, paying her debts, protecting her from consequences. For the first time, I wondered, what would happen if I stopped? A few days later, I went back to the apartment while Mom was out to grab the rest of my things, my books, some clothes I'd forgotten. That's when I saw it, a thick envelope on the kitchen table with my name on it, not hers, mine. "Final notice," stamped in red across the front. I opened it, and my stomach dropped. It wasn't just the power bill. It was a credit card statement, a credit card I never opened. $4,782.16 in debt, in my name. Purchases I never made, places I'd never been. I stood there alone in that suffocating apartment, hands shaking, staring at proof that this wasn't just a struggling mom leaning on her daughter. This was theft. And in that moment, my revenge stopped being an idea and quietly became a plan. If you're not subscribed yet, now's the time, because this is where I found out exactly how deep the betrayal went. I grabbed that envelope and a few others I'd never noticed before, ran back to Lily's place with my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. We spread them across her coffee table like crime scene photos. There it was, again and again and again. My name, my social security number, my credit score being buried alive under charges I didn't make, clothing stores I'd never shopped at, late-night takeout from restaurants across town, cash advances from ATMs I'd never touched. "She opened credit cards in your name?" Lily asked, eyes wide. "Sarah, this is identity theft. This is illegal." "She's my mom," I whispered. But even as I said it, the words felt weak, pathetic. I remembered all the times she'd waved away letters saying, just junk mail. All the times she'd made me sign routine forms without letting me read them. All the times she'd snapped, "You don't trust me?" if I asked too many questions. I trusted her because she was my mother. I just never realized she was willing to sell my future to keep her present comfortable. Lily placed her hand on my arm. "You can't keep covering for her. She's not just using your money anymore. She's using your name." That night, while Lily slept, I sat alone with my laptop, the letters, and a notebook. I pulled my credit report for the first time in my life. Each line felt like a punch. Utility accounts in my name, credit cards, a small loan I certainly never applied for, late payments, collections, my credit score in the toilet before I'd even started my adult life. I started documenting everything, account numbers, dates, balances. Every time I remembered her saying, "Sign here," or "I'll handle it." I screenshot text messages where she guilt-tripped me into sending more money, saved voicemails of her yelling, demanding, accusing. It felt wrong at first, like I was betraying her. Then I remembered that stack of bills she'd thrown at me, The way she'd screamed, "If you're so smart, then pay your own bills," like my education was an insult instead of an achievement. The next day, Lily dragged me to a free legal aid clinic. I showed the woman at the desk my documents. My hands were trembling. She looked through everything carefully, then met my eyes. "Legally, this is serious," she said. "You have options. You can dispute these accounts, file fraud reports, even press charges if needed. You don't have to decide today, but you need to protect yourself." "Press charges?" I echoed, my voice small. "Against my own mother?" "Against the person who stole your identity," she corrected calmly. "Biology doesn't excuse criminal behavior." I walked out shaking. But something inside me had shifted. For years, Mom had hidden behind the word family like it was a shield, like it made her untouchable. That night, I closed my personal bank account and opened a new one at a different bank, changed my direct deposit at work, called the utility companies, told them to remove me from everything tied to her address. The woman at the electric company said, "If your name is removed, the remaining account holder will be fully responsible. If the balance goes unpaid, service will be disconnected." "Please note that," I replied. "I won't be making any more payments on that account." "Understood," she said. I hung up and stared at my phone for a long time. This wasn't a tantrum. This wasn't me being selfish or ungrateful, like she always said. This was me cutting the cord she'd wrapped around my neck for years. Lily watched me from the doorway. "How do you feel?" "Scared," I admitted, but also free. For the first time in 6 years, I felt like I could breathe. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see what happened when she realized the lights weren't coming back on. 3 weeks passed. I heard nothing from Mom. No calls, no texts, no showing up at my work. Part of me wondered if she even noticed I was gone, if maybe she'd found some other way to pay the bills, some other person to guilt into saving her. Then my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. I hesitated, finger hovering over the button. Then I answered. "Sarah!" She was screaming, breathless, panicked. "Why is the power off? What did you do?" I took a slow breath, feeling the weight of everything I'd planned since the night I left. "I removed my name from the account," I said calmly, "like you told me to. I'm paying my own bills now." "What?" Her voice cracked. You can't do that. I can't afford." "That's not my problem anymore." Silence. Complete, shocked silence. Then, "Are you serious right now? You're going to let me sit in the dark? Let me freeze? "I let you use me for 6 years, I interrupted, voice steady. "I let you take my paychecks, my student loans, my credit cards I didn't even know about. I'm done letting you do anything." "What are you talking about?" She tried to sound confused, innocent. "The credit cards, Mom. The ones you opened in my name, the $12,000 in debt I didn't create, the collections calls, all of it." Another silence, longer this time. I was going to tell you." "When? When it hit 20,000, 30,000? When I couldn't get a car loan or an apartment because my credit was destroyed?" "I did what I had to do." Her voice rose, defensive now. "After your father left, I had to survive. I had bills. "You had a daughter," I said quietly, "who worked herself to exhaustion trying to help you, and you repaid her by stealing her identity. Don't be dramatic. I filed fraud reports with the credit bureaus," I continued. "I have documentation of everything, text messages, account statements, all of it showing I never authorized those purchases." I could hear her breathing, fast, panicked. "You wouldn't," she finally whispered. "I already did." The line went dead. She'd hung up on me. I sat there staring at my phone, hands shaking, but not from fear, from relief. The second call came 2 days later, different tone this time. "Sarah, sweetheart, I'm sorry." Her voice was soft, careful, the voice she used when she wanted something. "I overreacted. I was scared. Can we please talk about this? In person? No. Please, I'm your mother. We can work this out. I'll pay you back, I promise. You've promised before. This time is different. It's not different. You just realized the lights aren't coming back on. She was quiet for a moment. Then, so what? You're just going to abandon me? Leave me here alone? You're not alone, Mom. You have the same resources I had. You can work. You can get help. You can face your own problems. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me this long. I hung up, blocked her number, and went back to living my life. But the story doesn't end there, because 4 weeks later, I got a call from my aunt, and what she told me changed everything. My Aunt Carol called on a Tuesday evening, Mom's older sister, the one who'd always stayed neutral in family drama. "Sarah," she said carefully, "your mother is being evicted." My stomach tightened. When? End of the month. She hasn't paid rent in 3 months. The landlord filed paperwork last week. I didn't respond. "She's telling everyone you abandoned her," Carol continued, "that you cut her off without warning, that you're cruel and ungrateful." "Did she mention the credit cards she opened in my name?" Pause. "What? Did she mention the $12,000 in debt I'm disputing? The identity theft? The years of taking my money and calling it help?" She didn't say anything about that." "Of course she didn't," Carol sighed. "I'm not saying you need to fix this, Sarah. I'm letting you know, in case you wanted to, I don't know, prepare yourself." "For what?" "For her showing up at your door." 2 days later, there was a knock. I opened it to find Mom standing there. She looked smaller somehow, the sharpness in her eyes dulled by exhaustion, dark circles, hair pulled back in a messy knot. "You blocked my number," she said, "so I had to come in person." I didn't invite her in. Stood in the doorway with one hand on the frame, creating a line she'd never been forced to respect before. "What do you want?" She laughed bitterly. "What do I want? I want my life back, Sarah. I want my daughter back. I want electricity and a roof and some dignity. But apparently you decided to take all that with you. You had all of that before you decided to use me like a credit card." She flinched. "I made mistakes," she said. "I panicked. I didn't know how to survive after your father left. Every month was another fire. I grabbed whatever I could to keep us afloat." "You grabbed me," I said. "You grabbed my future." "I did it for us," her voice rose. "I thought you'd understand when you were older. I thought you'd be grateful someday." Grateful? For being in debt before I even started my life? For having to rebuild my credit because you didn't want to face your own problems? For being screamed at every time I couldn't fix a mess I didn't make? Her jaw clenched. "Fine, hate me. Let me be the villain. But know this, when they put my stuff on the curb and everyone whispers, they'll remember your name too. They'll say, 'That's the daughter who let it happen.'" I took a breath, hands shaking. "I didn't let it happen," I said. "I stopped letting you happen to me." She stared at me, waiting for me to crack, to apologize, to rush in with a solution. I didn't. "I'm not coming to fix this," I added. "I'm not paying your rent. I'm not putting the lights back on. If you want help, you can go to the same legal clinic I went to. You can talk to a counselor. You can get a job that isn't just borrowing from people who love you. But I will not be your crutch anymore." Tears filled her eyes. For a second, I saw the mother she used to be, the one who held me when I was sick and braided my hair before school. Then she turned away. "You'll regret this," she whispered, and walked down the hall. I watched her leave and realized something. She'd been saying that my whole life. This time, I didn't believe her. Make sure you're subscribed, because what happened on eviction day? Nobody expected that. The eviction fell on a gray morning 2 weeks later. I knew the date, but I hadn't planned on going anywhere near that building. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Something in my gut told me to answer. "Sarah?" Mom's voice, weaker now, like the fight had been drained out. "It's me. I'm using the neighbor's phone. They're here." I pictured it without needing to see it. Movers, sheriff, landlord, boxes on the sidewalk, neighbors peeking through blinds. They're putting my things on the curb, she continued. Our couch, your old dresser, the kitchen table, everything. They were her things now, not ours. That mattered. I just thought, she said, bitter laugh in her voice, you might want to see the result of your big smart girl decisions. You mean the result of your own? I asked. Silence. Are you happy now? She finally asked. You got your revenge. The power's off. The bills are in my name. I'm losing the apartment. You win. I thought about that for a long moment. This was never about winning, I said. It was about surviving. I didn't burn your life down, Mom. I just stopped holding up the parts you refused to touch. You could have helped, she whispered. You could have fixed it. I did help, for 6 years, with money, with time, with my mental health. You never called that help. You called it what you owe me. The moment I asked for balance, you called me selfish. The moment I left, you called me ungrateful. The moment I protected myself, you called it revenge. Isn't it? She pushed. Admit it. You liked hearing the panic in my voice when the power went out. I swallowed. Yeah, I said honestly. Part of me did. Part of me needed you to feel even a fraction of the fear I felt every time you slammed another bill on the table and told me to fix it. But the difference is, when the lights went out for you, you still had options. You're an adult. You can work. You can get help. When the lights went out for me, I was a kid, and you were the one flipping the switch. She didn't answer. Where will you go? I asked quietly. I don't know, she muttered. Your aunt offered to let me stay for a while, but she made it clear she's not paying my debts. Everyone suddenly grew a backbone after your little presentation. I heard muffled voices in the background. Someone saying, Ma'am, we need you to sign this. Why are you really calling me? I asked. Long pause. Because I wanted to ask, her voice broke. Is there any part of you that still loves me? The question punched through every shield I'd built. I thought about bedtime stories, scraped knees, birthday cakes, slammed doors, screaming matches. The first time she put a bill in my hands and called it our responsibility. I do love you, I said, voice barely above a whisper. That's what makes all of this so painful. If I didn't love you, walking away would have been easy. Then why, she sobbed, did you let it get this far? Because loving you doesn't mean letting you destroy me, I replied. And it doesn't mean erasing what you did. This, all of this, is what your choices cost. Not my boundaries, your choices. So that's it, she sniffled. You're just done with me? No, I said. I'm done being your unpaid therapist, your wallet, your scapegoat, your shield. If you ever decide to get real help, to go to therapy, to actually work on yourself, to pay back even a piece of what you took, I'll listen. But until then, the only thing I'm giving you is space. Silence, heavier than before. I told you once, she said quietly, that you'd regret this someday. Maybe, I answered, but I already regret the years I lost trying to save you from consequences you chose for yourself. I'm not losing anymore. In the background, Ma'am, we really need to finish up. I have to go, she whispered. Goodbye, Mom, I said. The word felt strange and familiar at the same time. I hope one day you pay your bills and your debts to the people who loved you. She didn't respond, but I heard her breathing hitch. Then the line went dead. I stood alone in my tiny rented room, phone still in my hand, feeling both hollow and strangely light. Somewhere across town, the apartment I grew up in was being emptied, the power off, the door soon to be locked. She once screamed at me, "If you're so smart, then pay your own bills." In the end, that's exactly what I did. I paid my own. And for the first time in her life, she was forced to pay hers. 6 months later, I got a text from Aunt Carol. Just a photo, no words. It was Mom, standing in front of a small apartment building, not the old place, somewhere cheaper, smaller. She was carrying a box. Her hair was shorter. She looked tired, but standing. Carol's text came a moment later. She got a job, cashier at the grocery store, 30 hours a week. It's not much, but it's hers. I stared at that photo for a long time. Part of me felt vindicated. She was finally doing what I'd done at 16, working, supporting herself, facing her own consequences. Part of me felt sad, for the years we'd both lost, for the relationship we'd never have, for the mother who could have been and the daughter I'd had to become. I didn't respond to Carol, didn't reach out to Mom, didn't try to fix anything. But I also didn't delete the photo. I saved it in a folder on my phone, right next to the photo of me and Dad from when I was 7, both of them, frozen in time. Reminders of people I used to know, people who'd shaped me, for better and worse. A year after that phone call on eviction day, I graduated, bachelor's in business administration, loans I was paying off myself, credit score I'd rebuilt from scratch, job offer at a company that actually valued me. Lily threw me a graduation party, small, just a few friends, pizza and cheap champagne in her living room. Someone asked if I'd invited my mom. The room went quiet. Everyone knew the story by then. No, I said simply, I didn't. Do you think you ever will? They asked. Like, reach out again? I thought about it, really thought about it. Maybe, I finally answered. If she ever reaches out first, if she ever says sorry without adding but, if she ever pays back even $1 of what she took, if she ever acknowledges that what she did was wrong, not wrong because I left, not wrong because it didn't work, wrong because it was wrong. And if she doesn't, Lily asked quietly, then I already have my answer, I said. The conversation moved on. But later that night, after everyone left, I sat on Lily's couch staring at my diploma. My name, Sarah Mitchell, Bachelor of Science. 4 years of work, of sacrifice, of late nights and early mornings and constant exhaustion. But I'd done it, without her money, without her guilt, without her voice in my head telling me I owed her everything. I'd done it myself. And that diploma, that piece of paper with my name on it, that was mine. Completely, honestly, mine. If this story hit home, hit that subscribe button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, have you ever had to choose between family and yourself? What happened? Because stories like this matter. Boundaries matter. Your future matters. And you being here matters too. Thanks for watching. And remember, you don't owe anyone your future just because they gave you your past.